So I grow a lot of early veg and a lot of early potatoes, and I make a lot of videos about growing early potatoes, and I kind of make no apology about it because I think it's just one of the funnest things to do, really. I'm not such a big fan of growing really early new potatoes, and I talked about that in a video a few days ago. In this video I just want to show you my early main crop potatoes. Now I do some super early ones in the conservatory, but let's forget that because that is too much fuss and hassle for most people. These though I think are great, and it's just a simple timing trick really. So what I like to do is I like to start second earlies, which if you grow something like Estima, Charlotte, Winston, those sorts of things, they make fantastic general purpose, effectively main crop potatoes if you leave them in the ground long enough, so for full maturity at 120 days. Now if you started them back in January and planted them just in a polytunnel or something like that, then you would just get new potatoes because there just isn't enough light and enough heat to get main crop potatoes. But if you start them middle of March, which is what I did, and start them indoors, and I start them in my conservatory, which is my general grow room and den, and keep them in there until about now. So about now I think is the 5th maybe of April, so not that long, so just weeks. So they don't take up very much room, and for quite a lot of that time, you can just stick them under a desk or a table, any sort of out of the way in a corner, because for about 10 days they haven't even broken surface. As soon as they break surface though, you need them in good light. Leave them until they're about the size of the Charlottes that I'll show you in the cutout video now. The Estima got a bit leggy. Ideally I would have planted them out just 3 or 4 days ago, but it was really frosty then, so I didn't want to do that. So basically I waited a little bit, got a little bit leggy, doesn't really matter. So I like then to plant mine in a cold frame. You could plant them in a polytunnel, but it's a bit of a waste of space I think in a polytunnel, because it means you really are not going to have time to plant tomatoes, because you're going to be harvesting these in late June, early July sort of time. Bit late then to follow that with tomatoes or cucumbers or whatever. But it's great for me to follow on with late courgettes or late carrots or something like that. So my cold frames are just coming free because they had overwintered carrots in them, and so it's kind of perfect timing for that, and so I really like it. Anyway, here's the basic technique then. So you take your potatoes that you started in your small pots and you just dig a fairly deep hole. Now this is definitely not no dig potatoes, because you are digging a fairly deep hole, but that is perfect in a bed that you're going to use for carrots. They like the soil nice and loose and well dug, so that's no problem. So dig a fairly big hole, sprinkle with, in my case, bloodfish and bone meal, and I do about a small handful, my hands are quite small, per tuber, and then just water them in and then backfill them and create a kind of mound around them. And basically you're just leaving them to it then. You just got to keep them nice and moist, you've got to keep them warm, and you've got to keep them frost free. Ideally you want to keep them out of the wind as well, because that can kind of bash up potatoes a little bit and just knock them back a little bit. And this is about getting potatoes as quickly as possible, so you really want to pamper them. Now you could conceivably do this under fleece, probably a double layer of fleece, but then you'd be reducing the light levels a little bit. I found that potatoes, really early potatoes, they really need a lot of heat and a lot of light, and so a cold frame or a polytunnel, but as I say I recommend a cold frame or a low tunnel, is absolutely ideal for that. You will, I find, depending on how frosty your days still are, need a layer of fleece and a layer of polythene, and then once they outgrow the polythene, because you've got to open the cold frame lid because they're too big to fit in the cold frame, then they will also need a double layer of fleece. so still a little bit of pampering, but the crop is amazing, and that's what it does it for me. You know, I just can't get really good main crop potatoes, apart from in the conservatory, as I say, which is too much faff for most people, in late June. I don't know of any other real way of doing it. You can't store them that way, because, you know, by then they're all sprouting and gone soft and all that sort of thing. So this is the only way I know, and it works beautifully every time. A huge crop. I do about 5 tubers per square metre because I want them big. I do want decent sized baking potatoes. You'll get some small ones as well, so you get, you know, general purpose potatoes as well. But that's it. It's as simple as anything. Obviously you've got to have a coil frame or a polytunnel or a low tunnel, but I think it's great because at this time of year I'm taking all the lids off my coil frames middle of April, but the potatoes really benefit. So I'm always looking for things that will really benefit from those coil frame lids staying on, and I find that's beetroot at this time of year and potatoes. You can't do anything else really at this time of year, not much anyway. You know, otherwise you're talking about sort of the middle of May or something like that for when you're doing your peppers and things. So to benefit from the extra warmth in April and early May, potatoes are just a great crop for that. Anyway, my name's Steve. This is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment channel, and I'll just put up a few a few photos from previous years of my crop. And yeah, I was really fussy about it, and I am really fussy about it every year because it's just so much fun to do. And if I'm putting the egg box photo up, the egg box is just there to give you a sense of scale. See you soon.